Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new release Feature Roundup webinar presented by Jibestream, the premier indoor mapping platform provider. I'm Meg, Customer Success Manager.
And I'm Akshay, the Product Manager for the SDKs. And today we're excited to show you the new features as well as talk to you about a little bit about Blue Dot. Meg's going to kick it off with the agenda.
Sweet. So we're going to turn off the video and move on to the slides. Bye. Okay. So we put out a really awesome new release. So we'll be covering a lot of ground today. Our agenda includes an overview of the Jibestream indoor mapping platform and how we can be used in any of your mapping use cases, as well as what's new in the platform, and we're going to do demos of some of our new features. And last but not least, Blue Dot 101. Actually, we'll be reviewing what Blue Dot technology is and how you can use it on your Jibestream maps.
Okay, so what is Jibestream? So some of you may not be familiar with what Jibestream does, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview. So Jibestream is a flexible indoor mapping engine, and essentially what we do is we empower your developers to build out whatever indoor mapping use cases you may have. That could be wayfinding, that could be asset tracking, that could be rendering spatial data onto a map, whatever that may be. And we also have a CMS which allows you to manage all your mapping data. So with Jibestream, you get a whole bunch of stuff, and Meg's going to go over what that includes.
Yeah. So what does Jibestream provide to our customers? We offer our customers indoor mapping expertise. So because of our years of being involved in the indoor mapping space and helping our customers implement our maps in their individual use cases, we have a lot of knowledge. And we don't just want to be your indoor mapping platform, we also want to be your indoor mapping consultant. One of our core offerings are 3 software development kits. We have an iOS, a web, and an Android, and we call them SDKs. So you can use those to customize the look and feel of your maps. Our SDKs are compatible with Blue Dot technology, which actually we'll go into detail about later in the webinar. We also provide a content management system, or CMS, which allows our customers to make metadata changes to their maps. Our customers can create and configure venues. So venues are things like different shopping centers or different buildings on a corporate campus. And they can manage their map objects in real time. So this just means that any changes made in the Jibestream CMS can show on the front-facing maps immediately after making the change. We provide an amazing design team who can digitize your maps from CAD files or another type of file for use on our platform, or they can train your team to do the same. The platform inherently includes wayfinding, and we have 2 different wayfinding algorithms to choose from depending on your use case. And of course, we provide technical support to your Jibestream CMS users and your developers who are using our SDKs.
Okay, so what's new in the Jibestream indoor mapping platform? So we're going to go through a handful of features, and I'm going to start kicking it off by talking about our navigation plugin. So what we've done is, alongside our software development kits, we've created a navigation plugin, which really enhances the navigation for your end user. And so it includes things like turn-by-turn landmark-based text directions, which essentially means that the text directions do have specific landmarks instead of just saying turn left, turn right. We have visual identifiers along the way, so depending on where the blue dot is, you'll highlight relevant units. You can do things like providing estimated walk times based on distance. So this is really useful in larger indoor areas. Sometimes it's not always, very obvious in terms of how long someone needs to walk. So it's really great to say, okay, this is how you get there, and you'll get there in approximately 7 minutes. So really useful for that. And we can display, an entire journey at once, or we can do step-throughs, which is essentially, I want to see each individual step of the wayfinding journey, things like that. So I'm going to give you a quick demo on the navigation plugin.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just going to interrupt and tell you guys about one of the really cool use cases that I just heard about from a customer. So they've just started using the navigation plugin, and what they are doing is that they're plugging in the text from the navigation kit into a text-to-speech program. So this helps with any of their end users who might have accessibility issues if they're not able to read screens and they actually need to be able to hear the instructions. While he's getting the demo set up, I know that he already said that the distance traveled had been removed and actually was changed with the number of minutes to get to a destination. And this is something that our clients absolutely love. So they, it's sort of like, I think in airports, people have seen, you know, this many minutes to get to your next gate. So something like that is so much more helpful and so much more intuitive than saying, you know, it's 500 meters or something like that to your gate. So people know exactly when to leave the bar or the restaurant or whatever, just to make sure that they get to their flight on time. Those kinds of things are what we've really enhanced and improved in this kit.
Okay, so we've got the demo up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do a wayfinding path, and this is the Jibestream Mall, and you can see a whole bunch of retail stores here. These are obviously very made-up names. So we're going to go from EU to Cute Pet Shop, and we're going to go to Orange Nation. So I'm going to draw a line, and you'll see the wayfinding path start going. And just keep in mind, obviously, this is going over WebEx, and so you may see a little bit of a lag, and that's primarily due to just the fact that it's going over WebEx. But on the right-hand side, you can see that the text directions are being generated, as well as units are being highlighted on the fly to really indicate to the user, you know, what unit you're referring to. Just a great way to enhance the navigation experience. I'll do one more example just to show you how it's done on the fly. So we'll go from Grandma's Giblets, and then we'll go to the tablet store. And there we go. Starts going. So you can see turn right at Grandma's Giblets, and now it's saying turn left at U2 Cute Pet Shop. And it's just going to keep going. And one of the cool things is it does it all on the fly based on the wayfinding algorithm wayfinding directions that it generates. So if you make a change to a destination in our CMS, it'll automatically give you new directions. You don't have to do anything for directions to be generated other than using the kit for the SDK developer. We're going to just flip over and show you our next feature.
Okay, so a really awesome new feature that we have built into the product is map localization. So this allows for the ability for clients to add different locales to their maps. Some of the really good reasons to do this obviously are retail or hospital clients where there might be end users from other countries, especially if they're located in heavily tourist-based economies. So not necessarily everybody speaks English. So this feature means that our customers can reach all of their visitors. So we've given the ability to translate most map objects into hundreds of languages. The different map objects that can be translated are the front-facing ones, so ones like destination names and descriptions, path types like stairs, elevators, and escalators, and amenities like restrooms, ATMs, parking lots, things like that. And then we have also given the ability to translate floor and map label names. The second part of this feature is called Map Metadata. So this feature gives our customers the ability to first export all of their existing map data and then make updates in a CSV file, which can then be imported to update any changes that have been made. This feature is amazing, and any of you who have ever had to go into any CMS to make a huge number of updates one by one will understand why. I have had to do that in a ton of different software programs, and so I absolutely love this feature. It saves a huge amount of time by mass updating rather than going into each individual destination or amenity to make a change. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick demo of how you can actually add this in the CMS.
Yeah, so this feature is actually really cool, and we're going to show you a couple of ways to import the data. And one of the two ways that Meg will show you is related to manually inputting it and then a CSV. But as with all our features, we have RESTful APIs, which means that there's always a third way to modify your data, which is doing direct integration. So if you ever have you know, a source of truth that isn't Jibestream for, say, destination names or translations, you can create a direct integration, which will automatically push the information to Jibestream.
All right, so I'm ready to demo how you can add this in the Jibestream CMS. So this is the home page of the Jibestream CMS. If any of you haven't seen it before, the first thing that you're going to see when you log in are any of your venues. So again, shopping centers, hospitals, offices, things like that. And then on the left-hand side, there is your navigation panel. So I'm going to show you how you can add the different languages today in the first example that I was showing you, so just the one-by-one edition. So we're going to click on Localization. You're going to see a panel here. So this is what I'm going to show you for the next part of the demo. For now, I already have my languages, so I can actually show you how easy it is to delete languages as well. So I'm just going to delete French, and I'm going to delete Spanish. Now I can show you how you can add them back again. So if you hit the plus sign, and then you go to the drop-down, you're going to see all the languages that you can add. But I'm just going to start typing in, and then it'll pop up. So we've added French. You can see the language code in here. And I'm going to add Spanish as well. Okay, so now that we've added our two languages, I'm going to show you how this affects the CMS. So I'm going to go home, choose the Jibestream Warehouse venue, and I'm going to choose one of our destinations and show you how you can actually add translation. So I'm going to go to bedding. And you're going to see that you can change to French, and I can put the French translation in here, and then Spanish, and once again we can put the Spanish translation. You can do the same thing for global settings, like amenities. So if I go to amenities, you can hit the edit button, and then the translation button's up on the left this time. And click on French. So we've already added this one, and then Spanish, and there it is. Okay, so really easy to add one by one. And now I'm going to show you all how we can do it with the map metadata option. Okay, so I'm going to go to localization. So you can download either global elements, so amenities or pass types for your whole account, or you can choose a venue and choose to download all of the destinations, floors, or map labels for that venue. I'm going to show you how to export global elements today, so I'll just show you how easy it is. You can click on Download Map Objects, and this is a CSV that's generated. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. We can definitely get into this if you guys have questions later on. But this would be the field that you update and then import. So I'll quickly show you how you can import. So I'm going to choose to upload destinations. I've already created my CSV file before the webinar, and I'm going to import into Jibestream Warehouse. Here's my file. And I have a check mark. So we know that everything that I just imported is going to be in my venue. So if I go back to Jibestream Warehouse, and I go to cameras, once again hitting the translation button, and we can see our French that I've uploaded and Spanish. So that was all instantaneous. I just uploaded it with that CSV file, and it's already in there. Okay, great.
Yeah, so one of the things that is always asked about it with localization is, okay, great, we did the CMS side, what about the SDK side? So the SDKs, the way they work with localization is when you initialize and load a map, you pass in a language code, and the same language code that appears in the CMS, and you are able to download all the data related to that language. So it's very simple on the SDK side, just an extra parameter in the initialization. The next thing I'm going to talk to you guys about is sample mobile code. So we do have two types of documentation that we provide all our customers. We provide them use case documentation, which is code snippets that are really related to very specific use cases. And we provide Java docs or JS docs or auto-generated docs, and essentially those are function level docs that a lot of developers like to look at. And the third thing we provide is sample mobile code. And what this is it's kind of our take on a fiddle. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used a JS fiddle, but essentially what it is it's code that's available in the browser and allows you to modify it as well right in the browser for testing. So I'm going to show you guys how we did that and the fact that we've added iOS and Android as well.
Yes, we've had a few clients move on to our new platform from our previous one. And I have to say that one of the things they appreciate the most about the new platform is our new comprehensive documentation, which includes these sample apps that Akshay is going to show you. So not having to start from scratch has saved people a huge amount of time, including, if we have an existing client and then they have a new developer start on, it's really easy for them to ramp up and understand the Jibestream SDKs because of our sample apps.
Yep, so I've loaded up the first screen, and it's the load a map, and there's about 20-something different use cases in this drop-down here, and we have them available for all 3 platforms. So if you click on the download button, you'll see web, iOS, and Android available for you. And at the bottom, you'll see the web code related to that specific example, and you can actually make changes to it and hit run, or you can make changes and hit fork. And for anybody who isn't familiar with what forking is it allows you to get a unique URL specific to the code you just wrote there. And why that's really useful is it's great for troubleshooting. So if you ever ask Jibestream for a code snippet, we can put it on here, fork it, and send you the link, and then you have it available to you. Or vice versa, if you're having any issues with using Jibestream or you're trying to get something to work and it's not working, you can put the code here, fork it, and send us the link. So really useful in that scenario. And I'll show you how you can update as well. So I'm going to go to rendering, and I will go to style with JSON. I picked this one primarily because everybody who uses Jibestream software typically will style their map a certain way. We do have a default styling, but a lot of times people will want to override the default styling. And so the way it works is because it's a vector-based map, you can go ahead and you can pick a layer and you can assign the properties, and it will assign those properties. So down here, this is the JSON file that allows you to assign the colors and the stroke and the opacity. I'm going to go to the background layer, and I'm going to change it to A, B, C, D, E, F, which is the hex code for a blue. So this entire green in the back right here should turn into a blue when I hit run. And you can see it changed into a blue. Great way, you can test your code on this. You can see how to do it, but very, very useful, and now available for both Android and iOS.
Great. Yeah, so I know, once again, Akshay mentioned this, but having the fork feature has saved us and our customer success team so much time. We absolutely love it. All right. So on to the final new feature that we're going to be going over today. We've added password creation and recovery to the platform. So it's a new workflow, which means that Jibestream CMS users can create or recover their own passwords rather than having someone create it or reset it for them. So this is really awesome. It obviously means that only that specific user has access to the sensitive information. We built this feature using other info security best practices as well. An example of one thing that we built in is that we don't actually let a user know if the email address they've entered is invalid. So everybody would get this page that says that they'll be getting an email sent to them, but if it's an invalid email, then they just don't get an email, obviously. So this is really awesome since it means that anyone who's maliciously trying to access the Jibestream CMS can't do so, but more importantly, anyone maliciously trying to enter won't know which email addresses at our clients' organizations exist or are active or inactive.
Okay, so yeah, before we move on to the Blue Dot 101, I just want to recap. We showed you, a handful of great features today. The navigation kit, the way of the localization stuff, the new code snippets, as well as improving our InfoSec. So we're really happy to share all those new features with you guys. And the last part of this presentation, we're going to talk about Blue Dot 101. And so why did we choose to do Blue Dot 101? We've been seeing a lot of traction on Blue Dot, and for anybody who isn't familiar with what it is, it's essentially providing that experience that you see in Apple Maps or Google Maps, where a person is indicated by a blue dot on their phone, and as they walk, it moves, and they can be routed and things like that. So in the Apple Maps and Google Maps scenario, you use the GPS. Unfortunately, a GPS is not available indoors, so you need to use different hardware, and today that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try to educate you guys on what is required to kind of create that experience indoors. Okay, so what do you need to get the Blue Dot experience indoors? So the first thing you're going to need is you're going to need a digital map. So that's something obviously Jibestream does provide to you, and either you can do it yourself through following our specs, or you can use our very talented map digitization team to create that map for you. You'll need a mapping SDK, again, something that Jibestream can provide and does provide, which is our software development kits. And they come in 3 flavors, iOS, Android, and web. You're going to need some indoor positioning hardware. And so there's different ways of essentially using hardware to get this done. And really, the choice is dependent on your use cases. So there's certain use cases require different accuracy levels, and so you can pick different type of hardware to really adhere to that. So I'm just going to go over really quickly the different types of hardware. So you'll see, most commonly you'll see Bluetooth beacons. So the advantage is that you can really control the accuracy on beacons. If you install more beacons, it becomes more accurate. But obviously, because of the installation cost, the hardware cost, it tends to be more expensive. There's Wi-Fi. So the biggest advantage to Wi-Fi is that usually people have an infrastructure of Wi-Fi already set up. The drawbacks, obviously, is that usually the access points for Wi-Fi are a little bit further apart, so the accuracy level will be less than, say, Bluetooth beacons. Geomagnetic. The advantage of this one is that it is cheaper. You don't have to really install much hardware. What it does is it uses the compass and the magnetic readings in the phone to figure out where somebody is standing. The drawback is because it uses magnets, if you move things in your office or in your mall, for example, if you have a metal desk or a metal drawer, it can actually cause a difference in the readings and actually throw the Blue Dot off a little bit. So that's the drawback. And then there's inertial measurement. So this essentially just uses the movement of the phone to determine where somebody is. The benefit of this is that there's no fingerprinting or no hardware cost to it. But the drawback is that because there's no fingerprinting and you're not actually relative to anything in the actual environment, you have to always state where you start when you start the application. So if, for example, you wanted to route somebody from point A to point B, at the start of your application, you would have to ask somebody, where are you standing? And then the routing would work. Okay. And the last thing you need is an indoor positioning SDK. And what the indoor positioning SDK does is it takes the readings from the hardware and converts it into a latitude and longitude that can be rendered onto a map eventually. And so that indoor positioning SDKs can also be used to combine multiple types of hardware into readings. So you can take things like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and combine them all into one reading for maximizing the accuracy. And lastly, you will need a developer to put it all together. So a developer working alongside with Jibestream would take all these components and eventually build out the use case that you would need to build out to do Blue Dot indoors. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the math of the Blue Dot. So we do talk about how we will guide your developers in the whole building of this experience. And the reason we say that is because obviously it's not an experience that most developers are familiar with. So one of the things we do is we provide consulting on that, and we provide code snippets and things like that. And we're actually working on tools to make this implementation even easier, just because we're seeing so much traction in this market. We're building out plugins and kits that will really be plug and play and make this part of the implementation even easier. But for now, I'm just going to walk people through the map just to educate you guys a little bit about what goes on when we talk about consulting with the developers, and allow you to just ask any questions if you have any. So you get a latitude and a longitude from an indoor positioning system, which is what I referred to with the indoor positioning SDK. So unfortunately, indoor maps are not placed on a world map, so the latitude and longitude needs to be translated into an XY. So when you get the latitude and longitude, the first thing that a developer would have to do is they'd have to convert the latitude and longitude into another type of lat long, and you'll see it goes from 4326 and 3857, and you're wondering why do you convert from lat long to lat long? The original lat long that you will receive is related to a round, the world is round lat long, but we really need to put it into a flat lat long because maps are actually flat. So this conversion converts from round to flat. Then the next thing you do is you take the flat lat long and you convert it into an XY that's related to the specific map. Once you receive that XY, then you can use that XY and plot it on the map using the Jibestream function. So we have a function in our SDK that essentially initializes the blue dot, and you pass it an XY, and it'll plot the blue dot exactly where you pass it.
Awesome. Thanks, Akshay. I've worked here for a while, and I'm still learning so much about blue dots, so I think that's an awesome overview. Okay, so now that we've reviewed our platform and what we can offer customers as well as our new features, we want to ask you, and you can obviously take this question away, you don't have to answer it right now, where can mapping help you? So we have a lot of clients who you wouldn't think are obvious candidates for indoor mapping technology, but who have come to realize the value in it based on their different use cases. If there's something that you think you can use Jibestream for but aren't sure, let us know. You can ask us if you have any questions, so you can talk to your Jibestream representative, or you can email info@jibestream.com if you have any ideas.